Kara stood at the edge of the arena, her breathing heavy. Her legs shook, her arms ached, and blood ran down her left shoulder. The training match was supposed to be easy, but now she was on her knees, in front of the whole Galactic Academy. Pathetic, someone muttered from the crowd of cadets. She's only half-blood, said another voice, louder, crueler. Laughter followed, cold and sharp, like ice on her skin. Kara's eyes burned. Not from pain, but from shame. She looked up and saw her opponent, a tall reptilian warrior. Named Vron, he grinned, his sharp teeth glowing under the training lights. You don't belong here, hybrid, he hissed. Then he turned and walked away, like she was not even worth a final strike. The crowd of alien cadets began to leave the arena one by one. They didn't help her, didn't speak to her, didn't even look her way. Even the teachers said nothing. This was the Galactic Academy, brutal, proud and cold. Kara stayed on the ground, her body broken, her mind screaming. She had trained harder than anyone. She had studied every night, every day. But no matter how hard she tried, they only saw her as less. And then something strange happened. A pair of boots stepped into the ring. Slow and steady, she looked up and saw a human. His name was Ash, tall, lean, with brown eyes and rough hands. He was the only human in the academy. Most cadets ignored him, some even feared him. But today, he did something no one else did. He held out his hand. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice calm. Kara stared at his hand, shocked. She didn't understand. No one helped her, ever. Why? She whispered, her voice weak. Ash didn't answer right away. He just waited, arms stretched, patient. Finally, Kara took his hand. He pulled her up gently, steadying her as she wobbled. "Why would you help me?" she asked again. Ash looked around the arena, then back at her. "Because falling doesn't mean failing," he said. "Sometimes we just need someone to help us stand again." Kara looked into his eyes, searching for a lie. But all she saw was truth and something else. A memory, a pain, maybe a loss. Something about him was heavy, like he carried many stories. "Thank you," she said softly. He nodded. "Let's get you patched up." As they walked off the arena, whispers followed them. The other cadets watched with wide eyes, confused and silent. Some looked angry, some shocked, but Kara didn't care anymore. She was still hurting, still bleeding, but for the first time she wasn't alone. Later that night, Kara sat in the quiet corner of the med bay, her arm wrapped, her cuts cleaned. Ash sat across from her, his jacket half off, a bruise on his cheek. "Why do they fear you?" she asked. Ash shrugged. "Humans are new here. Some say we're dangerous, others say we're weak. I say we're just human." Kara gave a small smile. "The first in days, you're different," she said. Ash smiled back. "So are you." She hesitated, then said something no one knew. "They'll come for me now," she whispered. Ash's smile faded. "Who?" Kara looked at the floor, her voice shaking. "The ones who know what I carry inside me." Ash leaned forward, serious now. "What is it?" he asked. Kara shook her head. "Not yet," she said. "You don't want to know." Outside, thunder rolled through the space station walls. An alarm flickered once, then stopped. Somewhere far in the shadows, a figure watched the security feed of Kara and Ash. Its voice crackled through a cum. "The hybrid has made contact with the human." Another voice replied, "Proceed with Phase 1. Back in the med bay, Kara sat quietly. Ash stood up, walking to the door, but before he left, he turned and said, "If they come for you, they'll have to go through me first." Kara blinked, her heart heavy but warm. She didn't know why the human helped her, but now she knew one thing. She was not afraid anymore. Ash didn't dream of stars anymore. He used to once back on Earth, when the war was still far away. But now, when he closed his eyes, he only saw fire, and the face of his little sister, burning behind a glass wall. He woke up before the alarm, as always. The Galactic Academy didn't run on mercy or comfort. It trained killers, soldiers, Spies, and Ash was just a human in a world that didn't want him. He got dressed in silence, the gray trainee uniform tight across his shoulders. The others were still sleeping, loud, snoring, dreaming of victories. He walked past their beds and stepped into the cold hallway. The lights buzzed softly above, flickering as they always did. He liked the quiet. He needed it. Today, something was different though. His hand still remembered the weight of hers Kairos. The way she looked at him yesterday, broken but not defeated. She reminded him of Earth, of how everyone called him useless before the war made him a hero, and how they forgot him after. Ash reached the training simulator room and stood in front of the combat board. His name was listed at the bottom. No rank, no respect, just Ash, human candidate. He didn't care, but now he had a reason to care. Behind him, the doors slid open. Kira walked in, her steps slower than usual, her arms still healing. A few cadets turned to whisper, but she ignored them. She walked straight toward Ash, like the past had taught her something. "Morning," she said quietly. He nodded. "You sure you should be training already?" "I'm not here to train," she replied, looking around. "I'm here because I think they're watching me." Ash glanced at her, his face still. "Who?" Kira lowered her voice. "I don't know, but after yesterday, I felt it. I don't know who I can trust." She looked up at him. "But you didn't ask anything, you just helped." Ash looked away, his voice flat. "People didn't help me either," he said. "They waited until I broke." The room around them started to fill with noise. Machines humming, cadets laughing. But the space between Ash and Kira stayed quiet. She looked at him closely now, as if trying to see behind his eyes. "You're not like them," she said. "No," Ash replied. "I'm human." Suddenly, a sharp electronic buzz filled the room. A new name appeared on the board. Kira versus Vron rematch. The crowd turned instantly, excited. "Again?" Someone whispered. "She lose even faster this time," said another. Ash stepped forward, but Kira stopped him. "No," she said. "Let me try." She stepped into the ring, her body still bruised, her hand shaking slightly. Vron laughed, his tail swaying behind him. "Did your pet human give you courage?" he mocked. Kira didn't answer. The match began, and for the first minute, Vron dominated. But then Kira dodged a strike, rolled, and hit him in the knee. The crowd gasped. Ash smiled slightly. She was learning, adapting, surviving. Vron roared and slammed her into the ground again. But before he could land the final blow, the match paused. The system glitched, lights flashing red for a second. Then everything returned to normal. But Ash noticed a small drone in the corner, watching Kira only. After the match, Kira limped out of the ring. Ash met her halfway, his eyes scanning the corners of the room. "We're being watched," he said. Kira nodded. "I told you." They left the hall quickly, walking into a quiet service corridor. As the door closed behind them, Kira placed something in his hand, a small data chip. "My mother gave this to me before she disappeared," she whispered. "I think it's the reason they're hunting me." Ash looked at the chip. It's surface glowing faint blue. "What's on it?" "I don't know," she said. "But my blood activates it." Ash stared at her, thinking, "Do you trust me?" he asked. Kira hesitated, then nodded. "Yes." Suddenly, an explosion rocked the hallway, sending metal shards flying. They were thrown against the wall, smoke filling the air. Figures in black suits entered from the smoke, armed, silent, fast. Kira screamed. "They found me." Ash grabbed her arm, pulled her into the side corridor. "Run!" he shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. They sprinted through the maintenance tunnels, alarms ringing behind them. Kira's heart pounded, her mind racing, and still. Even as everything fell apart, Ash didn't let go of her hand. Asterisk, the lights in the tunnel flickered, then died. Darkness swallowed everything. Only the soft red glow from the data chip in Ash's hand lit their faces. Kira leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Her arm was burned, her leg shaking. Ash stood in front of her, watching the tunnel behind them. waiting for the next shadow to move, the next threat to appear. They won't stop, Kira said, her voice barely above a whisper. They want what's inside me, Ash turned to her. Then tell me what's inside you. Kira closed her eyes. I didn't know for a long time, she said slowly. My mother hid the truth to protect me. Ash sat beside her now, still holding the glowing chip. Kira looked at him, this human, this stranger. He was the first person who didn't look at her like a mistake. The first one who didn't run when the danger came. She was a queen, Kira said, her voice distant. Not of a planet but of code, Ash blinked, confused. What does that mean? Kira touched her chest. She was part of an ancient race, the Yalari. They didn't rule by war, but by intelligence. They built the code that controls the galactic network. The ships, the weapons, the AI systems, all connected through their designs. Ash stared at her, the chip glowing brighter now. And you? He asked. I'm her daughter, Kira said. Born in secret, hidden from the council. I'm half Yalari, half of something else. Something they fear. Ash leaned forward. What do they fear? Kira's eyes met his glowing. Faintly in the dark, they fear that I can rewrite their systems, that I can control their machines, not with tools, but with my blood. A silence fell between them. Then Kira reached out and touched the data chip. The red light turned white, and a projection appeared, a hologram of her mother. My child, the voice said, soft and strong. If you are seeing this, then they have found you. You were never meant to fight alone. Ash and Kira watched as the image showed ancient scripts, strange symbols, then a map, hidden under the surface of a black planet. This is the core, her mother said. Inside it is the heart of the system, the master key, Kira whispered. This is why they want me, Ash asked. Can you control it? I don't know, she said, her hands shaking, but I think I was born to. Suddenly, a sharp metallic sound echoed down the tunnel. Ash stood quickly, pulling Kira up with him from the shadows. A small drone rolled toward them, scanning the air. Run, Ash said, grabbing her hand again, but this time, Kira didn't just follow. She turned around and raised her palm toward the drone. It froze, beeped once, then shut down. Collapsing with a soft thud, Ash stared, eyes wide. You just... Kira nodded. I told you. I'm different. They found a small maintenance hatch and crawled inside. The space was tight, dusty, filled with old wires and cold air. Ash lit a small light on his wristband. They sat in silence for a while, breathing, thinking. Do you hate them? Ash asked suddenly. The ones who mock you, the ones who hunt you. Kira shook her head. No, she said softly. I just want to know why I exist. Ash nodded slowly. I used to think I was just a soldier, he said, but now, maybe I'm something else too. Maybe I'm just the hand that catches someone who falls. Kira smiled a little, even through the pain. She reached into her jacket and pulled out a small crystal pendant. My mother said this would show me the way, but it only works when I'm not alone. Ash touched the crystal beside her hand. The pendant glowed bright blue. A beam shot into the ceiling, revealing star coordinates in glowing lines. Kira whispered, That's the location of the core. Ash grinned. Then that's where we're going. But far above them, deep in the council chamber, an old alien with silver skin stared at a projection of Kira and Ash escaping. They've unlocked the map, he said darkly. A shadowy voice replied, Send the assassins. They cannot reach the core alive. Back in the hatch, Kira placed her hand over Ash's, her eyes glowing faintly. We leave tonight, she said. Ash nodded. And this time we don't run, we fight. Asterisk in space. No one hears a scream. But inside the silent halls of Deck 13, the shadows were listening. The lights were dim, the cameras flickered, and the air smelled of metal and secrets. The assassins had already arrived. They didn't speak, didn't breathe heavy. They moved like shadows, 3 of them, covered in dark armor, their weapons invisible to scanners. They were called phase killers, used By the High Council only for one purpose, to erase problems. Kyra and Ash were the problem now. And the Council wanted them gone. Far below, Kira sat near the engine room of an old cargo ship. Ash checked the control panel, trying to bypass the launch locks. "We can't leave yet," he said, frustrated. "Security codes are scrambled." Kyra held the crystal in her hands, her fingers glowing softly. "It's calling to the core," she said. "I can feel it." Ash nodded. "Then we get there, no matter what." Before Kyra could answer, a low mechanical click echoed from the dark corridor. Ash drew his small plasma blade. Kyra stood slowly, her eyes scanning. The shadow, something was wrong, too quiet, too still. Then she heard it. Not footsteps, but the absence of sound. A space where sound should be, but wasn't. It was how the phase killers moved, bending silence itself. "Run," Ash whispered. Kyra didn't argue. They sprinted down the hallway, footsteps echoing now, alarms beginning to flash red. From the ceiling, a figure dropped, blades in both hands. Ash turned and clashed with him mid-run. The air sparking from contact, Kyra slid under a pipe. Twisting into another hallway, more shadows moved around them, silent and fast. Kyra raised her hand, energy surged through her palm. A wall of force exploded from her, throwing two assassins backward, but it drained her fast. Her knees hit the floor, her breath sharp. Ash blocked another strike, took a cut to the arm, and kept moving. He reached Kyra, helped her up. "They're not just here to kill," he said, blood on his shirt. "They want the chip." Kyra held it tightly. "They can't have it." They ducked into a storage chamber, locked the door. Ash pushed crates in front of it. Kyra leaned against the wall, sweating. "I can't keep using my power," she whispered. "It burns." Ash pulled out a needle from his belt, injected her with a stabilizer. "Then let me fight," he said. "You hold the light. I hold the line." Suddenly, the room's lights flickered, then shut off. The metal creaked, cold air rushed in. A voice came through the wall, distorted, cruel. "Hybrid Kyra, surrender the key. Your life may end quickly if you obey." Kyra stood, her body shaking, but her eyes fierce. Ash whispered, "Don't listen." She nodded. Then one of the crates exploded inward. A phase killer leapt in. Blades spinning, Ash met him head on, crashing into the wall with force. Sparks flew, screams echoed, and blood hit the floor. Kyra turned to the wall, placed her glowing hand against it. Her energy flowed through the ship's systems. One by one, the doors in the hall sealed. Lights turned blue. She had taken control. Ash kicked the assassin off him, grabbed Kyra's arm. "We're jumping," he said. She blinked. "Jumping?" Ash grinned. Out the airlock. He opened the back hatch, pulled her close. "Trust me," he said, and then hit the release. They flew out into space only for seconds, before being pulled into a docked cargo drone Ash had pre-programmed. The drone sealed behind them, air returning. Kyra gasped. "You're crazy," Ash smiled. "Bruised and bloody." "Maybe," he said, "but we're alive." Behind them, their old ship exploded. A chain reaction Kyra had triggered. The assassins were gone, at least for now. As the drone floated away from the station, Kyra looked at Earth on the horizon, a tiny blue dot among stars. "Why do you fight so hard for me?" she asked Ash. Ash looked out the window. "Because the last person I couldn't save was my sister," he said quietly, "and I promised myself I'd never fail again." Kyra placed the crystal in the ship's interface. A map appeared. New and ancient, it pointed them toward a forgotten planet, far beyond the edges of known space. "Then let's end this," she said. Ash nodded. "To the core." And in the dark beyond the stars, something old had just awakened. Ash stood alone in front of the council. Thousands of eyes stared at him from above, from around, from shadows beyond the hall. Alien voices whispered his name, some with curiosity, many with disgust. The room was massive, like a stadium of stars and stone. At its center, Kyra stood behind a force field, wrists bound, energy weak. "This human," one counselor said. his voice cold like ice. Dares interrupt a sacred trial. Ash didn't flinch. He had seen death before, close, burning, final. But this was different. This was a war of words, of truth. Kira had been captured 2 days ago when their ship was ambushed near the rim. Ash had barely escaped, crawling through wreckage, hiding in escape pods. But now he was here, inside the heart of the enemy, because Kira had no one else. And Ash had nothing left to lose. "You speak out of place," another counselor hissed, his skin made of scales and gold. "You are not one of us." Ash stepped forward, his voice steady. "No," he said, "I'm human." The room fell silent. Ash looked at them all. "You mock us," he said. "You call us weak, emotional, slow. But when your own machines fail, it's human hands you call. When your old code breaks, it's human minds that fix it. When your warriors fall, it's humans who carry them back. Kira is not your enemy," he continued. "She is the future you are afraid of." Behind him, a few whispers changed tone. Doubt, curiosity, even respect. The chief counselor stood now, tall and silver-eyed. "The hybrid must be tested," he said. "If she is truly Ilari-born, she will survive the trial of blood." Ash's fists clenched. "She doesn't need to bleed for you to prove herself." But no one listened. The guards dragged Kira toward the arena below the council floor, a massive circular pit of energy, ancient and cruel. She looked at Ash as she passed. Her eyes said everything. "I'm not afraid." Ash stood still, burning inside. Then a voice spoke beside him. It was the old archivist, a strange, quiet alien from the library below. "You can challenge the trial," he whispered. Ash turned, surprised. "You mean fight in her place?" "No," the alien replied. "You fight with her, side by side." Ash didn't wait. He stepped into the pit, his voice loud now. "I challenge the trial," he shouted. "I stand with her." The council murmured in shock. "Only bonded warriors may fight together." One counselor said. Ash looked at Kira. He reached his hand toward her. She took it. "I bond myself to her," Ash said. "In truth, in blood, in war." The pit lit up, accepting the vow. The crowd roared, some in rage, others in awe. Above them, the trial began. From the far side of the pit, a massive gate opened. Out walked a creature of pure energy, armored in obsidian, taller than both of them. It had no eyes, only heat and hate. A test left behind by the Ilari meant to kill anyone unworthy. Ash turned to Kira. "Can you still use your power?" "Only if I'm not alone," she said. He smiled. "Then we're fine." The creature charged. Ash ran straight at it. Blade ready, Kira followed, her hands glowing blue. Ash slashed at the legs, drawing sparks. Kira leapt forward and struck the center, her energy burning through the armor. The beast screamed in soundless fury. Its claws raked across Ash's chest, cutting deep. He dropped to one knee but didn't fall. Kira screamed, her power exploding out in light. The arena shook. The ground cracked and the creature collapsed in silence. When the smoke cleared, Ash was standing, bleeding, but alive. Kira knelt beside him, holding his arm. The council stared down. Speechless, the chief counselor finally spoke. "The trial is past," he said slowly. "But your journey is not over." Ash looked up. "We're going to the core," he said. "Try to stop us." He lifted Kira as the pit opened again. The crowd parted as they walked out, not as outcasts, but as warriors. Behind them, the archivist whispered to himself. "For the first time in centuries," he said, "a human stood in the pit, and the galaxy watched him rise. Before stars had names, before planets had numbers. There was the core. It did not spin like a sun or orbit like a moon. It simply waited, hidden inside a forgotten planet of glass and ash, waiting for someone born of code and blood to return." Kira stood on the edge of the Black Valley, her eyes fixed on the cracked sky. The world around her was silent. No birds, no wind, only memory. Ash stepped beside her, his hand resting on his chest where the trial wound still burned. "You sure this is the place?" he asked. Kira nodded. The map led here. Their ship had landed hours ago. Far behind them now. They had walked through ruins of towers that looked like frozen lightning, statues half buried in glass sand, strange symbols whispering beneath their feet. The Alari built this? Ash asked. Kira answered. No, this was before them. They reached the base of a stone gate, older than any technology they had ever seen. Kira placed the crystal in the center groove. It clicked, then sank into the stone like it had always belonged there. The ground shook, and the gate split open. A long spiral path led downward, into the dark heart of the planet. They walked together, deeper and deeper. The walls glowed faintly blue, pulsing like veins. Ash touched one and felt thoughts, not voices, not words, just a feeling of time. Too much time at the end of the path. A chamber waited. Floating at the center was the core, an orb of shifting light and shadow. Around it, machines blinked slowly, like they were sleeping. Kira stepped closer, her body glowing. The core reacted instantly, spinning faster. She gasped as a surge of energy raced through her veins. Images flashed through her mind, her mother, the council, planets burning, and something more, something locked, sealed by a final key. Ash watched her, worry in his eyes. What do you see? Kira opened her eyes. The weapon, she whispered. It's not for destruction, it's for control. She turned to him. It's a system override, she said. It can shut down every war fleet, every council AI, every weapon in the galaxy. But it needs two codes, one from the Alari, one from something outside their design. Ash stepped forward, understanding dawning. Me, he said. I'm human. We were never part of their system. My DNA would be the second key. Kira didn't speak. She just looked at him, like she already knew. He smiled faintly. Of course it's a suicide switch. It always is. Before she could answer, a voice echoed from behind them. I was hoping you'd open it first. They turned to see a familiar figure step from the shadows. It was Trelix, the alien diplomat who had once helped them. Kira's eyes widened. You were with the council? Trelix smiled, cruel and slow. I was always with power, he said. And now I take the core. Guards in black armor stepped in from the sides. Blasters ready. Kira raised her hand, but her energy sparked and faded. The core was draining her, accepting her code, but weakening her. Ash stepped forward, blocking her. No, he said. You want the core? He turned to Kira. Then activate it now. Kira hesitated. Ash, you won't survive. I know, he said. But we don't run, remember? He reached forward and touched the core with his other hand. The orb exploded in light, blinding, burning, beautiful. Screams echoed from the guards as the floor cracked beneath them. Trelix tried to run, but the machines activated instantly, locking everything down. The core accepted both codes. A deep hum filled the chamber, spreading through the planet, then into space, into every ship, every satellite, every machine connected to the network. Across the galaxy, warships stopped moving. AI cannons powered down, and in the council chamber, screens went black one by one. Back in the core room, Kira fell to her knees. The orb faded to a soft glow. Ash was on the ground, barely breathing. She crawled to him, took his hand. His eyes fluttered open. I kept the promise, he whispered. No more falling, Kira cried, holding him close. The chamber pulsed once more. And the core closed itself, its mission complete. Asterisk. The galaxy paused, not because of a war, not because of an explosion, but because something impossible had happened. The core had gone silent, and so had the weapons. Every warship powered down. Every eye stopped responding. The code had been rewritten by a hybrid and a human, and now the galaxy waited on the ancient world. Deep inside the chamber, Kira held Ash's body close. He wasn't breathing, his eyes were closed, but there was peace in his face, like he knew what he had done. She placed his hand over his chest and whispered, Thank you. Outside, the skies above the planet changed. The clouds swirled into a golden spiral. The core's last message spread through the stars, not in words, but in vision. It showed them Ash, a single human reaching out his hand, saving someone the galaxy had abandoned, choosing sacrifice over silence and rewriting destiny. The people watched, the council watched, and for the first time they were quiet. A week passed. Kara returned to the Galactic Council not as a prisoner, but as a force of history. She walked through the gates of the Grand Hall wearing Ash's jacket. Over her armor, the same hall where they once laughed as she fell, now. They stood as she entered. The chief counselor rose slowly. "You carry the power of the core," he said. "Yet you come here in peace." Kara stepped forward. "I do," she said. "But I also carry a name." She reached into her jacket and pulled out Ash's badge. "He was mocked like I was," she said. "Laughed at, ignored. But when everyone stepped back, he stepped forward. You called him weak," she continued. "But his blood shut down your armies." A silence fell across the chamber. Kyra's voice softened. "He was not just human," she said. "He was humanity. Somewhere in the shadows." The archivist smiled. History had changed. The council could not deny the truth now. They stepped down from power. The Ilari's old code was archived. A new system was built open, equal, rewritten with Kyra's own hands. She returned to Earth days later, beneath a quiet sky. She stood over a small grave on a hill. There was no grand speech, no crowd, just a stone that read, "Ash, the human who reached out." She knelt and placed the crystal beside it. The light from there core shimmered faintly, as if saying goodbye. "I told you they'd remember," she whispered. "Because I will never let them forget." The wind moved gently, and for a second she could almost hear him laugh. Kira stood and turned away from the grave. She had work to do, worlds to fix, systems to restore, children to protect. But she wouldn't do it as a victim or a weapon. She would do it as a symbol, not of blood, not of power, but of what happens when even one human dares to care. They mocked her when she fell, but she rose. Not because she was strong, but because a human reached out his hand, and now she would never let go.